Here's how Ireland's involvement turned the tide of World War II. At first glance, that might sound strange. Ireland was neutral during the conflict. Officially, Taoiseach Éamon de Valera declared what was called the emergency, keeping Ireland out of the war. No Irish army stormed the beaches on D-Day. No Irish fleet joined the Allied convoys. But neutrality doesn't mean inaction. In fact, Ireland's contributions, some quiet, some hidden, some carried out by its people abroad, made a bigger difference than most people realize. Let's start with the most direct impact: the Irish who fought. Neutral or not, over 70,000 Irish citizens voluntarily joined the British Armed Forces. They didn't have to. They crossed the border into Northern Ireland or signed up in Britain because they believed the fight against Nazi Germany was worth it. These men and women served in every branch of the military. They fought in North Africa, in Italy, in Normandy, and in the skies over Europe. One of the most famous was Brendan Paddy Finucane, a 21-year-old from Dublin who became one of the RAF's greatest fighter aces. Flying a Spitfire with a green shamrock painted on the side, he downed dozens of enemy planes before being killed in action. The press turned him into a symbol of Irish courage, the Flying Shamrock. Without pilots like Finucane and other Irish-born airmen, the Battle of Britain could have gone very differently. But it wasn't just about individuals. Ireland's geography made it an unavoidable player in the struggle for the Atlantic. Germany's U-boats were sinking Allied convoys by the thousands, threatening to starve Britain into submission. Officially, de Valera denied Britain use of Irish ports, a stance that frustrated Winston Churchill to no end. But behind the scenes, Ireland quietly cooperated. The best example is the Donegal Corridor. It was a strip of Irish airspace secretly open to Allied aircraft, letting planes fly from bases in Northern Ireland directly out over the Atlantic. That may sound small, but it cut flight times dramatically and allowed long-range patrol planes to hunt U-boats far more effectively. Many historians argue that this concession, though never publicized, helped save Britain from losing the Battle of the Atlantic. Without it, convoys might have been destroyed in even greater numbers, and Britain might not have held on long enough for the Americans to arrive. And then there's Irish science. Ernest Walton, an Irish physicist, was the first person to split the atom in a laboratory alongside John Cockcroft. Their pioneering work in nuclear physics won a Nobel Prize and laid the foundations for nuclear research that ultimately shaped the Manhattan Project. Walton himself wasn't building bombs, but without his discoveries, the timeline of atomic science and the development of the weapons that ended the war would have been very different. In a roundabout way, Irish science helped change the future of warfare. Meanwhile, Irish heritage shaped culture and morale. John Ford, the Irish-American film director whose parents came from the west of Ireland, made powerful wartime documentaries like The Battle of Midway. His films weren't just propaganda. They were psychological weapons, boosting Allied morale and stiffening resolve at critical moments. Even at sea, neutral Ireland couldn't avoid involvement. The Irish merchant marine, operating under the tricolour flag, carried goods across dangerous waters. These sailors weren't officially combatants, but they risked everything, sailing through U-boat-infested seas. Many were torpedoed and killed. Their sacrifice is rarely remembered, but without neutral Irish ships keeping vital supplies flowing, Britain would have been even closer to collapse. At home, Ireland felt the war in everyday life. Fuel shortages forced the country to rely heavily on turf from bogs. Rationing and blackouts became routine. Imports dried up, leaving shops bare. The economy suffered, but neutrality was also a powerful statement. Ireland had won its independence only a generation earlier, and joining Britain in war was politically impossible. Neutrality was independence in action. Still, neutrality was complicated. Churchill pressured de Valera to let Britain use Irish ports more openly. Germany tried to recruit the IRA as saboteurs, sending spies who were quickly arrested. And in 1945, de Valera made one of the most controversial decisions in Irish history. After Hitler's death, he personally visited the German ambassador in Dublin to offer condolences. To the world, it looked outrageous, almost sympathetic to the Nazis. To de Valera, it was about consistency. He had offered condolences for other heads of state who died during the war, and to him, neutrality meant treating Germany no differently. Even today, historians debate whether that decision was stubborn principle or a disastrous diplomatic misstep. And yet, despite all this, Ireland's impact was undeniable. Its soldiers fought on every major front. Its airspace quietly gave the Allies the edge in the Atlantic. Its scientists helped unlock nuclear physics. Its culture shaped propaganda and morale. Its sailors kept supply lines alive. Neutrality did not mean irrelevance, far from it. In the end, Ireland didn't win the war single-handedly. But without Ireland's people, its concessions and its quiet sacrifices, the conflict might have dragged on longer, cost more lives, and even ended differently. That's how a small neutral nation at the edge of Europe managed to leave fingerprints all over one of history's greatest struggles, and in its own way, helped turn the tide of World War II.